We're going to review fractions. This time we're going to look at the multiplication and division of fractions. Multiplying fractions. When multiplying fractions, a common denominator is not needed. Simply multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators separately. So 2/3 times 5/9 is going to equal 2 times 5 in the numerator and 3 times 9 in the denominator for 10/27. Okay? Sometimes we can reduce the fractions before multiplying. Let's take a look at 3/5 times 5/7. Notice that we have a 5 on top and a 5 on the bottom, and they cancel each other, and so you're left with 3/7. Any common factor is either a numerator. Any common factor in either numerator can cancel with the same factor in the denominator. Multiply after canceling. So even though none of these numbers look the same, we know that 4 and 8 have a common factor of 4. We know that 9 and 3 have the common factor of 3. So thus, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. And then we multiply. So we'll have 1 times 1 on the numerator, and then 3 times 2 in the denominator. Note that any whole number, such as 16, has the number 1 that is understood in its denominator, which means that the 16 will be multiplied by the 5. But first notice how we can cancel the 8, the 16, and the 8. And so the 8 becomes 1, and the 16 becomes 2, and then you just have 5 times 2 for 10. If more than 2 fractions are multiplied, the same principles apply. So we can multiply 2 times 3 times 1, and we can multiply the 9 times 20 times 4. Now notice that we can cancel the 2 and the 4. Okay, we can cancel the 2, and the 4 would become a 2. For the 3, we could cancel the 3, and then the 9 becomes a 3. So you would wind up with 20 times 6 for 120. Here's a few ideas to look over, and that is your language of multiplication, okay? 1/2 times 2/3 can be worded in a number of ways, like 1/2 multiplied by 2/3, or 1/2 by 2/3, or 1/2 of 2/3, or you can say the product of 1/2 and 2/3, okay? Note, when multiplying, it doesn't matter which fraction is first, okay? 1/2 times 2/3 is the same as 2/3 times 1/2. Here's some multiplying fraction examples. We have 2/3 times 3/4. What do you think that's going to be? All right, notice that there is a 3 in the numerator and denominator, and thus they're going to cancel, giving us 2/4. Please remember that this means that the 2 and the 4, again, we're going to simplify those. You always must simplify your fractions. So both 2 and 4 have the factor of 2, so we can divide each of them by 2 and reduce the fraction. Let's take a look at this. 5/8 times 48 over 125. What do you think the answer is going to be? All right, let's see if you're right. The numbers are large, but notice that 125 has a factor of 5. Also notice that 8 is a factor of 48. So we're going to reduce our fractions first. Okay? So we would have 5 times 6 times 8. 6 times 8 would be 48. And then 8 times 25 times 5. The 25 and the 5 is the 125. So notice we can cancel 5s and 8s. All right. Then that just leaves us with 6 over 25, which we can see is reduced to the lowest terms. Let's take a look at dividing fractions, okay? To divide fractions, we take the reciprocal of the fraction that we're dividing by, then cancel or reduce, and then multiply. So keep in mind, what does reciprocal mean? Reciprocal means, like, if you had 2/3, the reciprocal would be 3 over 2. 8/9, the reciprocal would be 9 over 18. If you have a 4, notice that the reciprocal, taking the reciprocal of the fraction involves flipping the fraction so the numerator and denominator switch places. Note, to make a whole number a fraction, we need to place it over a 1. So dividing common fractions, let's take a look at these. Simply invert the second one and take the reciprocal of fractions that we're dividing by. Okay, so the 8/9 must be flipped to 9/8. Notice nothing is going to simplify, so we're just going to have to go 5 times 9 for 45 and 7 times 8 for 56. Okay, let's take a look at the 9/16 divided by 3/32. Again, we're just going to take that 3/32 and find the reciprocal of it, flip it. Notice that 16 and 32, 16 times 2 is 32, so we can cancel that. Again, 9 and 3 have the common factor of 3. So the only thing you're going to be left with in the numerator is 9 times 2 for 6. Okay? So you can note that you can only cancel after division is changed to a multiplication. The language of division, so 1/2 divided by 2/3, it could be worded into 1/2 divided by 2/3, 2/3 into 1/2, divide 1/2 by 2/3. Note, in multiplication, the order of fractions was not important, but in division, this is not the case. The order of fractions is important. So consider the following. If we have 1/2 divided by 2/3, we're going to flip that 2/3 to be 3/2, we're going to get 3/4. But if we take 2/3 divided by 1/2, flip the 1/2 so it's 2/1, we're going to wind up with 4/3, which becomes a mixed number of 1 and 1/3. So dividing fractions as easy as pie, flip the fractions, then multiply. And don't forget to simplify before it's time to say goodbye. All right, let's take a look at this example. Okay, we got 3/5 divided by 9/15. Go ahead and solve this. All right, let's see if your answer is correct. Okay, we must take the second fraction and flip it, the reciprocal, and then multiply. So there it is. Now, once flipped, we're now multiplying two fractions together, and we may reduce. So notice that the 15 turns into 3 times 5, and the 9 turns into 3 times 3. So I've broken these into their factors in order that you can see that the 5s cancel. We have a number of 3s that cancel. And so all we do is wind up with 1. Okay? So yeah, so 3 and 9 share 3 as a factor, 5 and 15 share 5 as a factor, as well as the 3. So they all go away. All right. Oops. So here we have another example. So we're going to take the 12/5 and we're going to flip that so it's 5/12. 12 is 3 times 4, so we can cancel out our 3s. And notice that then we just have 5/28. Okay, short and sweet. Thank you for helping out. The end.